What if the person you ignored, disrespected, or treated unfairly at work was actually your CEO in disguise? Imagine the shock, the regret, and the tears when the truth is finally revealed. Today's story is going to shake your heart and make you question how you treat people around you. Stick with me until the very end, because the twist will leave you speechless. And before we dive in, don't forget, if you believe kindness matters more than status, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Goodness Corner for more inspiring stories that touch the soul. It was an ordinary Monday morning at Harrison & Company, a multinational company known for its strict discipline and high-pressure environment. The glass building towered over the city, a symbol of success and ambition. But inside, the atmosphere was not always warm. Many employees were consumed with deadlines, competition, and the struggle to stand out. Kindness was often forgotten in the race for promotions and recognition. On that particular day, a new employee walked in. He was dressed in a plain shirt and worn-out shoes, carrying a modest bag. His name on the ID card read, Alan Parker, Junior Assistant. No one paid him much attention at first. After all, new assistants came and went all the time. What they didn't know was that Alan Parker was not who he seemed to be. He was actually Edward Harrison, the company's CEO, disguised to test the true character of his employees. For months, Edward had felt uneasy. He sat in his luxury office on the top floor, signing contracts and expanding the empire, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He received glowing reports about productivity, profits, and growth, but he wondered about the soul of the company. Were his employees truly happy? Did they treat one another with respect? Or was the workplace becoming toxic, where people only cared about climbing the ladder? The only way to find out the truth was to step down from his position temporarily, blend in, and see how his workers behaved when no one was watching. And so, Edward Harrison became Alan Parker, an ordinary assistant at the bottom of the hierarchy. The first day itself revealed more than he expected. When he entered the break room nervously holding his coffee cup, a few senior employees smirked at his cheap clothes. "Looks like HR hired another charity case," one of them whispered. Another added, "He won't last a week here. This place eats people like him alive." Alan forced a smile and quietly sat in the corner, but inside, his heart grew heavy. These were his employees, the very people he trusted to carry his company's values. Later that day, he was asked to make 200 photocopies of a thick report and deliver it before noon. As he hurried to the copier, one of the managers shouted at him, "Hey, rookie, faster. Don't mess this up." When Alan politely asked for help with the machine, the manager snapped, "Figure it out yourself. We don't have time for babysitting." For hours, Alan struggled, his hands covered in toner ink. People walked past, some rolling their eyes, others pretending not to notice. Only one person approached him, Sophie, a kind-hearted accountant. She smiled warmly, knelt beside him, and said, "Don't worry, I'll show you. It's tricky the first time, but you'll get the hang of it." That small gesture lit a spark of hope in Alan's heart. Not everyone was blinded by arrogance. Over the next few weeks, Alan's disguise taught him the painful truth about his workplace. Some employees treated him like invisible air. Others barked orders without a hint of respect. During lunch breaks, he often sat alone at the cafeteria, overhearing conversations filled with gossip and mockery. One day, a group of employees laughed as he accidentally spilled water on the table. "Careful, Parker. Maybe you should stick to washing dishes instead of office work," one of them sneered. Alan's face burned with humiliation, but he bit his tongue. He wasn't here to defend himself. He was here to observe. And observe he did. He noticed that Sophie, despite being overworked, always greeted people with kindness. When others ignored the janitors, she thanked them sincerely. When her colleagues belittled Alan, she defended him softly, saying, "He's trying his best. Everyone deserves patience." Alan began to realize that Sophie was the rare gem among stones. Someone who carried the spirit of humanity in a place where competition often overshadowed compassion. Yet Sophie was not free from struggles. Alan learned that she was a single mother, working overtime to support her young son. Despite her hardships, she never allowed bitterness to steal her warmth. Watching her made Alan's heart ache with both admiration and sadness. As the weeks went by, Alan wrote down everything in a secret journal, every cruel word, every kind gesture, every silent tear shed by employees who felt invisible. His heart grew heavier each day, but he also felt clarity. The company was financially strong, yes, but morally weak. It was time for a reckoning. The stage was slowly being set for a truth that would shatter walls, break egos, and bring people to their knees in tears. The day finally came when Alan Parker would reveal his true identity. After 2 months of blending in, enduring disrespect, and quietly observing, he had seen enough. That morning, the company had scheduled its quarterly meeting in the Grand Conference Hall. Every employee was present, from assistants to department heads. The air buzzed with excitement, as rumors swirled that the CEO himself would be making a rare appearance. Alan entered the room in his usual plain clothes. A few people frowned, whispering, "Why is the new guy here? This meeting is for important staff." He quietly sat at the back, waiting for the right moment. The large doors opened, and everyone gasped as Edward Harrison, the CEO, walked in. But here's where the shock began. Edward was wearing the exact same clothes as Alan. Murmurs filled the room. Confusion spread like wildfire. "Wait, what's going on? Why do they look the same?" The crowd watched in disbelief as Edward walked straight toward Alan. Then, in one swift motion, he removed Alan's fake ID badge and said loudly, "Ladies and gentlemen, meet Alan Parker, also known as me." A stunned silence fell over the hall. People's jaws dropped. The new assistant they had ignored, mocked, and mistreated was none other than their CEO in disguise. Gasps echoed. Some employees covered their faces in shame. Others froze, pale with shock. Edward's voice was calm but filled with authority. "For the last 2 months, I have walked among you. I ate in the cafeteria. I worked late nights. I carried out the smallest tasks. And I saw everything, the way some of you treated me with disrespect, as though I was less human because of my position. I heard the cruel jokes. I felt the dismissive looks. But I also saw kindness, the rare light that shines even in the darkest corners." His eyes softened as he turned toward Sophie. "Sophie, you reminded me what this company was built upon: respect, compassion, and integrity. You stood up for someone you thought was just an assistant, and for that, I thank you." Tears welled in Sophie's eyes as the entire room turned to look at her. Edward continued, his voice now shaking with emotion. "A company is not defined by profits alone. It is defined by the humanity of the people who work here. And today, I want every single person in this room to reflect. Ask yourself, if the person you belittled, ignored, or mistreated had been me, the CEO, would you have acted differently? If so, then you have failed. Because true character is revealed not in how you treat those above you, but how you treat those below you." His words cut deep into the hearts of everyone present. Some employees began to cry silently, realizing the weight of their actions. The ones who had mocked Alan felt their pride crumble into dust. The managers who had barked orders without respect lowered their heads in shame. The conference hall was filled not with applause, but with tears, tears of regret, tears of awakening. Edward then announced a new initiative. From today, Harrison and Company will not just measure performance by numbers, but by values. Acts of kindness, respect, and integrity will be rewarded as much as productivity. Because without humanity, success is empty. The entire room erupted in emotional applause. Sophie, overwhelmed, covered her face as tears streamed down. She had no idea that her small acts of kindness had touched the CEO himself. Edward approached her gently and whispered, "Your kindness will never go unnoticed again. Expect a promotion." The hall stood to its feet, not just for Edward's revelation, but for the truth that had been laid bare. That day, Harrison and Company changed forever. The employees left with heavy hearts but also renewed spirits. They understood now that titles mean nothing if one cannot treat others with respect. The truth had left them in tears, but also in transformation. And as Edward looked around the room, he knew his disguise had not been in vain. Sometimes, it takes a hidden truth to open blinded eyes. And that, dear friends, is the story of the CEO who tested his employees in disguise, only to reveal a truth that shook their souls. What about you? How would you treat the Alan in your workplace, the one who seems ordinary, overlooked, or unimportant? Remember, you never know who they really are, or what battles they are fighting. If this story touched your heart, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Goodness Corner for more powerful stories that inspire kindness and humanity. Because in the end, goodness always matters.